Now we are recording.
Okay. All right. So we're using Zoom, guys. Eventually, we're going to be posting this, and you'll be seeing it from another facet, probably YouTube or something of that nature. But we have around 600 handlers, active duty handlers across all the different branches, down at Lackland, stateside, Oconus, and stuff like that. And I put out a questionnaire saying, who would you guys want to hear from? There's Michael Ellis, there's Forrest Mickey, there's Bart on there. There's these people all across the world. And the person that got the most hits on there was you, Doc. Stuart Hilliard.
I love having my name come up in association with Bart Malone and Michael Ellis. That's a feel good for me.
Yeah, man. And I was like, well, I don't know how much Doc's on the internet these days, but I'll try to get a hold of him.
I try to keep up.
See if we can get something together. So we're here. Yeah, I do too. And, this is my first time using Zoom, but I really do like it. So a lot of people have heard your name. You've been in the dog program forever, longer than I've been alive. You've been putting your hands on dogs. For those don't know all the specifics or kind of more than just the name Doc, could you tell me a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your history?
Okay, I started training dogs in about 1980. And for 10 years, I was a sportsman training Schutzhund dogs and competing and stuff. Not with a great deal of success, but I did it. And also I began training pet clients' dogs to make money, and also training police department dogs. Then at about age 30, my back started to hurt, and I thought to myself, I can't, my livelihood can't depend on being able to agitate dogs for the rest of my life because I'm already breaking down. So I need to go get a profession. So I went to the graduate program at the University of Texas in behavioral neuroscience, which in my flavor was just a fancy expression for learning. And I did a PhD there, nothing to do with dogs, but I did a PhD there. And then as a kind of a coincidence, at some point during my graduate career, my supervisor said, hey, I got this weird phone call from an Air Force base in San Antonio. They want somebody to come and talk to them about learning. And I don't know anything about dogs. Why don't you do it? I was like, okay. And so I took the gig and I did a little talk, and it was kind of funny. I was waiting for somebody to come up afterwards and, tell me I was great and offer me further opportunities or whatever. And the only person that came up to me was a Navy chief who said, I want to take you out to lunch, right? And being the dumb shit that I am, who knows, I could be working for the Navy now. That being the dumb shit that I am, I thought I might get a better offer. So I said, hang on, let me see what else comes in. Figuratively, that's what I say. Nothing else came in and he was gone. So I wound up driving back to Austin with no input on my talk, thinking, well, that was a huge waste of time. That didn't do me any good at all. But a couple years later, when they were starting a program of research, they needed contractors to do the research on detector dog psychophysics and on breeding, and they need somebody to run a breeding program, stuff like that. I got the phone call because they knew of me, and that's how I wound up at Lackland. I got there in 1998, and I have been there ever since.
Wow, 22 years.
Yeah, 22 years. Nobody's more surprised than I am that A, I can hold a job, and B, I can hold a job for that long.
Yeah, and you're not completely broke. You're out there still decoying and stuff. I see all the time.
I do it at a limp, and I don't travel real far.
So you've obviously met a ton of handlers and trainers throughout this process, a wide array. But do you still keep up with anyone? Do you have any mentors or any continued learning that you really stick to? Anything that kind of inspires you still?
Yeah, my studies of working dogs aren't as systematic as they should be. I mean, I should be reading all the time and looking at videos all the time and stuff like that, but I'm too busy riding motorcycles and fucking off. So, but I can tell you a list of people that kind of historically have really influenced me. Some of them are still around, and our contact with them and learning about them is enormously valuable to serious work dog guys. So I'm going to flip to, I have some notes that I'm going to put up on the screen. It shouldn't disturb your ability to see me. and
Okay.
I'm gonna go from my notes. So I'll go way back, and if I do something weird, like I start picking my nose or the thing turns and I'm not on screen anymore, let me know, okay? Because I'm blind right now. I'm just looking at a document.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So to go way back, I'm going to mention a guy named Len Masana. And Len Masana was a police dog trainer in the United States before European influence had taken over the United States. Len Masana was a guy who trained police dogs in his own American system with his own kind of language and all that sort of stuff. And Len Masana, well, I won't call him an asshole, but he and I were not friends from the very start. He was a really short guy, and I'm a really tall guy, and I think he resented that. And also, he was just really kind of a pugnacious, aggressive guy. And so I went to a seminar of his. We're talking 1981 or something like that. I went to a seminar of his, and at some point, he was giving some lecture, and basically, to put it another way, this is the first guy I ever saw do what I call a threat approach on a dog. Because back in my day, the way we threatened a dog was like yell at him and act like you're going to hit him with a stick and stuff like that. The idea of using eye contact and immobility and expansion of body size as threats, as social threats, completely new. And so Len Masana picks my ass in the classroom and does a threat approach on me. Right? And he made me uncomfortable, right? Like after he crept up on me after a couple minutes with me pretending it didn't bother me, guess what? It bothered me. That's how strong threat is. So, and I kind of bring Len Masana up because he was controversial. He used to do bite work on dummies. One of the coolest things he did was what we used to call Ho Chi Minh trails, where you'd set up a trail through the woods with a bunch of problems you take your dog through, usually your sport dog, your poor sport dog. You'd take your dog through, and scary shit would happen. You'd see how the dog would do. One of them was a dummy swinging down on a rope directly into the handler and dog and stuff like that. And Len Masana did a lot of work on dummies, and at one, like mannequins, right? And at one point, he came over and hung his elbow over the fence and said, "You don't think much of my dummy work, do you?" I was like, "Well, Len, no, I don't." But it's worth mentioning because you should listen to everybody. I've gotten really important ideas from people that I don't think of as my mentors. It's just somebody I had contact with, and Len Masana was one of those. Really, he gave me a really important insight that I still depend upon, and most other people do too. Okay, the next one is, and he didn't write any books, he didn't do any videos. This was before all that stuff, so his influence is completely gone. I can't even remember the words that he used to use, but it was not like any of the terms that we use now. Didn't talk about defense, didn't talk about aggression, didn't talk about that stuff. We didn't have that language at that time. We worked everything over aggression, but we didn't know it was aggression, and we didn't know the distinction between aggression and prey and all that kind of stuff. So that all changed in about 1983 because a guy named Helmut Reiser came to the United States and taught a seminar sponsored by my little Schutzhund club in Parker, Colorado. And it was a real small gathering. We had a huge snowstorm, and Helmut Reiser was this absolutely brilliant, still is. He's like an enfant terrible. He's still shaking things up. But he was a really smart German dentist. And dentists are a big deal in Germany. They are big time respected professionals. He was super smart. He was a deadly serious working dog guy. And he won the German Leistungsbundesliga-Prüfung, the working dog championship, twice with dogs that he raised from puppyhood. So this guy was legit, really legit. When he came, and the other thing is he worked according to a theory. He had done a fair amount of reading in behavior, ethology, some learning, stuff like that, and put together a theoretical model for how working dogs are trained, why they behave the way they do, why they respond to the stimuli the way they do, what stimuli are useful, what stimuli are less useful, all that kind of stuff. So he had a theoretical model. At the time, I lacked a theoretical model. And the import of a theoretical model is it's what helps you go from training dog A to training dog B with the same principles. But of course, you can't use exactly the same operations because it's a different dog. What enables you to stick with those principles is you have the theoretical structure. Same way, training dog A at point 1 and then training him again at point B 3 weeks later, again, you're going to need your theoretical structure because it's not going to be the same dog. So he came with a theoretical structure and a set of expressions, a language. And everyone the world over now uses this language. Like within 6 months of Riser hit in the United States, I could go to a dog training club in Texas or Seattle or some damn place like that, and they'd all be talking about defense, aggression, and prey. These words weren't in the English lexicon of working dog terms, and these ideas were not there. So Riser changed the world, and he's still doing prominent things. He's not a big fan of the SV, the German Shepherd Dog Club of Germany, because they're more involved in creating pretty dogs now than working dogs. Tried to start his own organization for breeding and registering working dogs. You know, he's still shaking things up, but he wrote a very good book, which has been translated into English. And it's one of the important books that somebody should read. Like, it's part of the basic canon of working dogs. Hello? Oh no! Can you remember? Yeah, I'm still up. Can you remember how long ago? Oh, actually, it doesn't matter because I'm still recording, right? So I can just keep going where I was. Okay. Yeah, give it a try.